3 weeks after the battle at Kelris 9, a Galactic Assembly diplomatic vessel approached Earth's orbital station. The station was called Armstrong 7, and it orbited humanity's homeworld like a steel moon. High Counselor Moonbin stood at the viewing port of his ship, looking down at Earth. Even from orbit, he could see why humans were different. Massive storm systems swirled across the surface. The continents showed mountain ranges that looked impossibly tall. This was a world that fought back against anyone trying to live on it. His diplomatic team consisted of 12 representatives from major assembly civilizations. All of them were nervous. They were about to meet the species that had destroyed a Kryn swarm with just 4 ships. Ambassador Yonseo waited for them at the docking bay. She was a human woman in her 50s, dressed in formal clothing that somehow managed to look both professional and comfortable. Behind her stood a security detail of 4 humans in dress uniforms. As Moonbin stepped off his ship, the first thing he noticed was the gravity. It felt like someone had placed weights on his shoulders. His legs trembled slightly. Around him, other representatives struggled even more. Some required mobility assistance devices just to stand upright. The humans moved normally. They did not seem to notice the crushing gravity at all. Yonseo smiled and bowed slightly. High Counselor Moonbin, welcome to Armstrong 7. On behalf of the Terra Coalition, I am honored to host the Galactic Assembly. Her words were translated through devices both sides wore. Moonbin returned the bow, though the movement was difficult in the heavy gravity. Ambassador Yonseo, thank you for receiving us. We come with important matters to discuss. She led them to a conference room with large windows overlooking Earth. The planet filled the view, blue and green and white, beautiful and deadly. The assembly representatives sat carefully in chairs designed for human proportions. Everything here was built heavier, stronger, more durable than assembly standard. Moonbin did not waste time with small talk. Ambassador, 40 years ago, the Galactic Assembly made first contact with your people. We looked at your world, judged it too hostile, and dismissed you as technologically primitive. Recent events at Kelris 9 have proven that assessment catastrophically wrong. On behalf of the Assembly, I apologize for our mistake. Yonseo considered his words carefully. Her expression was neutral. High Counselor, we remember that meeting. Your people were polite but uninterested in cooperation. We accepted that decision and continued developing independently. The apology is appreciated but not necessary. You made decisions based on the information you had. Her diplomatic response somehow made the Assembly's past dismissal sting even more. She was not angry or resentful. She simply acknowledged it and moved on. Representative Minseok leaned forward. Ambassador, forgive my directness, but we must ask. Why did you respond to Kelris 9? You had no treaty with the Velrathi, no alliance, no strategic interest in that sector. Why risk your ships and your people? Yonseo's answer was simple and direct. Because someone called for help. We were in a position to answer. That is reason enough. The Assembly representatives exchanged glances. Such direct altruism was uncommon in their experience. Most civilizations carefully calculated advantages and risks before committing military forces. Admiral Wanshik, a Terra Coalition military liaison, spoke up from where he stood by the wall. Our history is violent. We fought each other for thousands of years over resources, beliefs, territory. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times, but we learned that survival requires cooperation. That real strength means protecting those who cannot protect themselves. When we reached the stars, we brought those lessons with us. Moonbin listened carefully. Then he asked the question that mattered most. Your military capabilities are considerable. The Kryn swarm has terrorized the Outer Rim for decades. You destroyed them in less than an hour. The Assembly must ask, what are your intentions? What do you want? Yonseo met his eyes directly. We have no desire for conquest or empire. We want peaceful trade, cultural exchange, cooperation with other civilizations. But we will defend ourselves and our allies. If that makes us seem dangerous, we accept that perception. Moonbin nodded slowly. He had hoped for this answer. He activated a holographic display showing an official document. Then allow me to present the Assembly's proposal. We wish to offer the Terra Coalition full membership in the Galactic Assembly. This includes trade rights, technology exchange, mutual defense agreements, and voting representation on the High Council. You would be equals among equals. The offer was unprecedented. Most new civilizations spent decades in provisional status before gaining full membership. Hyunso understood the significance immediately. High Counselor, I must ask, is the Assembly offering this because you fear us, or because you hope to benefit from alliance with us? Moonbin's honesty surprised even himself. Both. Your military strength is formidable, and it would be foolish to make enemies of you. But more than that, you represent something the Assembly has lost over the centuries. We have become cautious. We negotiate while innocent people die. You did not hesitate. You acted. That quality is worth more than fear-based diplomacy. Yonseo asked for time to consult with Terra Coalition leadership. The meeting adjourned while she contacted Earth's government. In a secure conference room, human leaders debated the offer. Admiral Wanshik argued for acceptance. Access to galactic trade routes and alien technology would accelerate human development by decades. Science Director Hyunwoo emphasized the research opportunities, but Yonseo raised concerns. If we join the Assembly, they will expect us to be their military force. Every conflict in the galaxy will become our problem. Every threat will be our responsibility. Are we prepared for that? Prime Minister Chaewon, leader of the Terra Coalition, considered this carefully. We are. We have always protected those who could not protect themselves. Now we will just have more people to protect. But we do it on our terms. They drafted their conditions: full autonomy in military operations, no forced conscription of human forces, equal voting rights, protection for human cultural practices. When Yonseo returned to the conference room, she presented these terms to Moonbin. He accepted all of them without negotiation. The other Assembly representatives agreed. The agreement was signed formally with all delegates present. Humanity became the 48th member civilization of the Galactic Assembly. As the Assembly delegation prepared to leave, Representative Ji-yeon commented to Moonbin, "Do they understand what they have agreed to?" The Assembly has countless problems. Pirates, raiders, territorial disputes, rogue AI systems. They have just made themselves responsible for all of it. Moonbin looked back through the viewport at Earth. That beautiful, terrible world that had forged a species strong enough to save others. "I think they already were responsible," he said quietly. "They just did not know the rest of us existed yet. Now they do. And now we have allies who will actually fight for what is right." The diplomatic vessel departed Armstrong 7, carrying news that would change the galaxy. The Deathworlders had joined the community of civilized species, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly was packed. Representatives from all 47 member civilizations had gathered on Thessia Prime, the Assembly's core world. The massive chamber buzzed with worried conversations. High Counselor Moonbin stood at the central podium. He was a Thasian, tall and thin with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl. His people were known for their diplomatic skills and advanced technology. But today even he looked unsettled. Representative Yunji stepped forward. She was from the Security Council, responsible for monitoring threats throughout Assembly space. She activated the holographic display above the podium. "Council members, 3 days ago we received an emergency transmission from Kelris 9. A Kryn swarm attacked the Velrathi mining station. Over 8,000 civilians were in danger." Several representatives nodded. Kryn attacks were unfortunately common in the Outer Rim. The Assembly had tried to stop them for decades with little success. The Kryn were too mobile, too aggressive, and too numerous. Yunji continued. The Velrathi called for help from the Thasian Protectorate, but due to solar interference, the signal scattered. It was received instead by an unknown species, one we have no formal contact with. She pressed a button. The hologram changed, showing footage from Kelris 9's damaged sensors. The representatives leaned forward to watch. They saw the Kryn swarm attacking the station. Then new ships appeared, heavy, blocky vessels that did not match any known design. The video showed what happened next. The unknown ships tore through the Kryn formation like it was nothing. Kryn vessels that had terrorized the Outer Rim for decades were destroyed in seconds. The battle was not even close. It was a massacre. The chamber fell completely silent. Several representatives looked shocked. Others looked frightened. Moonbin spoke carefully. The Velrathi report indicates these ships belong to something called the Terra Coalition. These rescuers call themselves humans. Their home world is called Earth. He paused, looking around the chamber. Most of you will not recognize these names, but I will remind you that 40 years ago, we did make first contact with this species. We dismissed them as primitive and not worth our attention. It appears we made a serious mistake. Assembly Intelligence Director Hana stepped forward. She projected a star map showing a region of space the Assembly rarely visited. The Terra Coalition operates in the Orion Spur. We classified this region as low priority because it contains mostly high-gravity worlds. Their home planet Earth has gravity measuring 1.2 times our standard. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Most Assembly species had evolved on worlds with between 0.6 and 0.8 standard gravity. A 1.2 gravity world would slowly crush their bodies. Living there would be impossible for them. Representative Minsok, a military strategist, stood up. Are you saying these humans evolved on a high-gravity world? That they are naturally stronger than us? Hana nodded. That is correct. But it is worse than that. She changed the display to show environmental data from Earth. As each piece of information appeared, the representatives became more and more disturbed. High oxygen content in the atmosphere. Severe weather patterns including hurricanes and tornadoes. Active tectonic plates causing frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. A moon large enough to create massive tidal forces. Thousands of species of predators and parasites. Bacteria and viruses that evolved alongside humans, constantly forcing their immune systems to adapt. Xenobiologist Sora spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. According to our classification system, Earth meets 17 of the 19 criteria for a Class 12 death world. This is the second highest rating possible. Almost everything on their planet is actively trying to kill them. They evolved through constant environmental warfare. Medical Director Jiho added more information. Their biology reflects their world. Dense bone structure to handle the high gravity. Redundant organ systems. Healing abilities that would be considered regenerative in most species. Pain tolerance roughly 3 times the galactic average. They are built to survive conditions that would kill most of us. The chamber was silent again. Every representative was trying to process this information. A species from a death world, a species they had dismissed as primitive. Military strategist Daehyun brought up tactical analysis. Their military doctrine reflects their evolution. Our fleets rely on shields and evasive maneuvers. We avoid damage when possible. Humans build heavily armored ships designed to absorb punishment and keep fighting. Their weapons prioritize kinetic force over energy efficiency. And their tactical approach, he paused, searching for the right words. They hunt. They do not just fight, they pursue and destroy. The Kryn swarm has raided the Outer Rim for 40 years. No assembly fleet has achieved better than a stalemate against them. The humans destroyed the swarm in under an hour, and they did it with only 4 ships. Representative Jion from the Thasian Protectorate raised a critical question. What do they want? The Velrathi report says they asked for nothing in return. No payment, no territorial claims, no political favors. They saved 8,000 lives and then just started helping with repairs. Why would they do this? Hana projected intercepted human communications. We have been monitoring their transmissions. Their reasoning appears to be ethical. They responded because someone asked for help. Their captain stated, and I quote, "They asked for help. We answer." That appears to be sufficient justification for them. The representatives looked at each other in confusion. This kind of direct altruism was unusual in galactic politics. Most civilizations carefully calculated the benefits and costs of military intervention. The idea of responding simply because it was the right thing to do seemed almost naive. But these humans had backed up their idealism with overwhelming force. Representative Sungho, a Velrathi who had traveled from Kelris 9, stood up. His voice was emotional. I have met them. I have spoken with their Marines. They saved my people. They are still there now, helping us repair the station, sharing medical supplies, teaching our security forces how to defend themselves. They are not conquerors. They are good people. His words hung in the air. Good people, but also incredibly dangerous people. Moonbin looked around the chamber at all the assembled representatives. The question before us is simple. What do we do about humanity? We ignored them once. That was clearly a mistake. They have now demonstrated both military superiority and moral character. I propose we extend formal first contact to the Terra Coalition. He paused, letting his next words carry weight. More than that, I propose we offer them full membership in the Galactic Assembly. We need to understand them better. And perhaps we need allies like them. The debate lasted for hours. Some representatives were afraid of humanity's military strength. Others worried about cultural differences. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. The Galactic Assembly would extend formal contact to humanity. They would offer membership, trade partnerships, and alliance. They would treat humans as equals. because the alternative was too dangerous to consider. If humanity decided the assembly was hostile, or if some other power recruited them first, the balance of galactic power would shift dramatically. Better to have the Deathworlders as friends than as enemies. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Moonbin stood alone at the podium. He looked at the footage of human ships destroying the Kryn swarm. Such power, such violence. But used to protect the innocent, he hoped humanity would accept their offer. And he hoped the assembly was ready for what would come next. Captain Soman of the UESV Relentless watched her main screen as her ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 2 other ships appeared beside her, the destroyer UESV Tempest and the assault carrier UESV Horizon. The battle was already underway. The Indomitable was in the middle of the Kryn swarm, surrounded by enemy ships. Debris floated everywhere. At least a dozen Kryn vessels were already destroyed, but there were still more than 30 left. Soman opened the fleet communication channel. Indomitable, this is Relentless. We received your alert. What is the situation? Minho's voice came through, calm despite the explosion she could hear in the background. Relentless, good to see you. Kryn swarm attacking civilian station. We have approximately 35 hostiles remaining. The station has heavy damage and civilian casualties. We are clearing a path to the dock. Soman studied her tactical display. She could see the Indomitable's plan. Draw the Kryn away from the station. Give the civilians time to seal the breaches and evacuate damaged sections. Understood. Relentless and Tempest will engage the swarm. Horizon. Deploy your Marines for station relief operations. Captain Kyungmin of the Horizon acknowledged immediately. Her ship was an assault carrier, designed to transport troops and equipment. In her hangar bays, hundreds of Marines were already preparing their gear. Copy that, Relentless. Beginning launch operations now. The 3 new ships moved into position. The Relentless and Tempest accelerated toward the Kryn formation from different angles. It was a classic pincer movement, forcing the enemy to split their attention. The Kryn hive mind recognized the danger. They were now facing 4 human warships instead of 1. The threat level had increased dramatically. The hive mind did what it thought was logical. It split its forces to deal with multiple enemies. It was exactly the wrong decision. Divided, the Kryn lost their numerical advantage. The swarm that had terrorized the Outer Rim for decades had always won through overwhelming numbers and perfect coordination. Now they were in smaller groups, and human tactics were specifically designed to exploit such situations. The Relentless opened fire with its main batteries. Railgun rounds streaked across space, each one finding its target. The Tempest followed up with missile salvos. Hundreds of small hunter-killer warheads that spread out and tracked individual Kryn ships. The Indomitable continued its aggressive assault from the center of the formation. Caught between 3 attacking forces, the Kryn tried desperately to regroup, but every time they formed up, another human ship would tear through their formation. Sulgi marked targets on her screen and transmitted them to the other ships. The 4 vessels coordinated their fire, making sure no enemy ship was hit twice when there were still fresh targets available. It was efficient. It was professional. It was devastating. Within 30 minutes, the Kryn swarm was shattered. Only a handful of ships remained, and they were fleeing. Running away at maximum speed, broadcasting warnings across their network. The message they sent was simple. Deathworld species encountered. Extreme threat. Avoid this sector at all costs. The human ships let them go. There was no point chasing them. The civilians needed help more than revenge. On the horizon, Marine Commander Junho stood in the hangar bay surrounded by 3 companies of Terra Coalition Marines. Each soldier wore powered armor, heavy exoskeletons that enhanced their already considerable strength. They carried weapons designed for Earth's gravity, far too heavy for most species to even lift. Junho checked his helmet display, reviewing the station schematics that Kelris 9 had transmitted. Multiple hull breaches, structural damage, life support failing in several sections. Casualties unknown. Listen up, he called out to his Marines. We have 8,000 civilians on that station. Most of them are injured. Their gravity is 0.6 standard, so watch your strength. We are here to help, not intimidate. Clear? 300 Marines answered as one. Yes, sir. The assault shuttles launched from the Horizon's hangar bays. They were small, fast craft designed to get troops from ship to ground quickly. Within minutes, they reached the damaged station and began docking at functional airlocks. Junho's shuttle docked at a damaged section near the station's main plaza. The airlock was partially destroyed, its inner door jammed shut. Through his armor sensors, he could detect atmosphere on the other side. People were alive in there. He examined the door for a moment, then simply grabbed it with both hands. His armor's hydraulic systems whined as he pulled. Metal groaned and bent. With a screech of tearing alloy, the door came free from its frame. On the other side, dozens of Velrathi civilians stared at him in shock. They were amphibian creatures with smooth skin that could be various shades of blue and green. In the station's low gravity, they seemed almost delicate. Junho set the door aside gently and retracted his helmet. His face was covered in sweat, but he smiled at them. Terra Coalition Marines, we are here to help. Is anyone injured? The translator in his armor rendered the words in Galactic Standard. The civilians just stared, too shocked to respond. They had never seen anything like these armored giants. Medical Officer Nari pushed past Junho, carrying her medical kit. She was smaller than most Marines, but she moved with confidence. Come on, people, move aside. I need to set up a triage center. Corpman Youngho, get the portable medical units unloaded. The Marines moved through the station with purpose. They found pockets of survivors trapped behind debris, lifted wreckage that would have required heavy machinery, and stabilized damaged sections with portable support beams. Their strength in the low gravity was incredible. What would have been difficult work on Earth was almost easy here. In the main plaza, Nari established her medical center. Injured Velrathi were brought in, and she worked alongside Youngho to treat them. Human medical technology was compatible with most carbon-based life forms. Burns were cleaned and bandaged. Broken bones were set and splinted. Critical cases were given emergency treatment and prepared for transport to the Horizon's medical bay. The Velrathi watched in amazement. These humans moved boxes that 5 Velrathi workers could barely shift. They tore through damaged bulkheads like they were paper. And yet when they handled the injured, they were gentle, careful. Junho's team reached the command center. The door was sealed from the inside, warped by heat and damage. He could hear voices on the other side. People were alive. He examined the door briefly, then grasped it with both hands. His armor whined. The door's frame bent, then the entire door came free. Junho set it aside and stepped into the command center. Administrator Hyan stumbled backward. The figure in the doorway was massive, nearly 7 feet tall in full combat armor. Its surface was scarred from battle. Weapons were mounted on its shoulders and arms. For a moment, Hyan thought it was some kind of combat robot. Then the helmet retracted, revealing a human face. A young man with dark eyes looked at him with concern. Administrator Hyan? Junho asked. His translator made his words understandable. We received your distress call. Marine Commander Junho, Terra Coalition. We are here to help. Hyan's translator device struggled to process what he was hearing. Terra Coalition? He had never heard of them. His database had no record of their species or their government. I do not understand, Hyan managed to say. His voice shook. We called the Thasian Protectorate. Who are you? What are you? Junho extended his hand. It was a universal gesture of peace, though his armored gauntlet looked more like a weapon than a greeting. We are human, Administrator, and you called for help. So we came. Hyan stared at the offered hand. Behind Junho, more Marines were entering the command center, checking systems, offering water and food to his staff. They moved efficiently, professionally. They were not conquerors. They were rescuers. Slowly, Hyan reached out and took the human's hand. The armored fingers closed around his with surprising gentleness. Thank you, Hyan whispered. Thank you for coming, Junho smiled. You are welcome. Now let us get you and your people somewhere safe. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kelris 9 system. The view on the main screen made everyone on the bridge stop and stare. It was a war zone. Debris floated everywhere. Pieces of destroyed ships tumbled slowly through space. Some were still burning, strange blue flames that needed no oxygen. The station itself was visible in the distance, its hull torn open in several places. Atmosphere vented out in frozen white streams that looked like ghostly fingers reaching into the void. And everywhere, the Kryn ships moved. Sylgi's fingers flew across her tactical console. Numbers and data scrolled across her screens. Captain, I count 47 Kryn vessels. They are swarming the station like insects. Each ship is approximately 200 meters long. They are firing some kind of corrosive projectile weapons. Minho studied the enemy formation. The Kryn ships did not look like normal spacecraft. They were organic, grown rather than built. Their hulls were covered in thick chitin armor that looked like the shell of a beetle. They moved together with perfect coordination, like a single living thing with many bodies. That was because they were a hive mind. Every Kryn in the swarm shared thoughts and commands instantly. They acted as one. Battle stations, Minho ordered. All hands prepare for combat. Red lights flooded the bridge. Throughout the ship, crew members strapped into their stations. In the engine room, Do-hyun watched his power readings climb as the reactors spun up to full combat output. In the gun decks, crews loaded tungsten rounds into the railgun batteries. In the medical bay, doctors prepared for casualties. The Kryn noticed them. 6 ships broke away from the swarm, attacking the station. They moved fast, accelerating toward the Indomitable. Jisoo watched them approach on her screen. They are coming to meet us. Probably think we are easy prey. Good, Minho said. Let them come. The 6 Kryn ships spread out in an attack formation. They opened fire first. Green glowing projectiles shot out from organic weapons ports. They splashed against the Indomitable's shields like water against a rock. The shields did not even flicker. Human military shields were designed to stop weapons far more powerful than anything the Kryn had. The corrosive bioprojectiles might work against lightly armored civilian ships, but against a Terra Coalition warship, they were useless. Seolgi did not wait for a second volley. Her hands moved with practiced precision. Railgun batteries 1 through 8 fire for effect. The Indomitable shuddered slightly as 8 railguns fired at once. They used electromagnetic force to accelerate solid projectiles to incredible speeds. Each tungsten core round weighed 30 kilograms and traveled at a significant fraction of light speed. When they hit, they carried kinetic energy equivalent to small nuclear weapons. The first Kryn ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next, it was an expanding cloud of debris and vapor. The tungsten round had punched straight through it, converting its entire structure into high-velocity fragments. The second ship tried to dodge. It was too slow. The railgun round hit its midsection and the ship broke in half, both pieces spinning away into darkness. The third, fourth, and fifth ships were destroyed before they could even transmit what was happening back to the main swarm. Their organic armor, which could resist most energy weapons, was useless against pure kinetic force traveling at such extreme velocity. The sixth ship managed to send a single message across the Kryn network before it too exploded. One word translated from their alien language into a concept the hive mind understood: predator. On Kelris 9, Hyon stared at his broken sensors. They were damaged, showing only partial data, but what he could see made no sense. 6 Kryn ships had just been destroyed in seconds. A new vessel had appeared, one his database did not recognize. It was not a Thasian ship. The design was completely wrong. Too heavy, too much armor. Weapons far larger than any sensible ship would carry. Mireille leaned closer to her screen, trying to get better data through the interference. Administrator, I am picking up identification signals. They are transmitting in multiple languages. One of them is Galactic Standard. She pressed buttons, filtering through the static. United Earth Space Vessel Indomitable. Terra Coalition. But sir, I have never heard of Terra or Earth. They are not in any of our databases. Jan felt a chill run through his body. Unknown ships. Unknown species. Fighting with a brutality he had never witnessed. The way they had destroyed those Kryn vessels was terrifying. Clinical, efficient. Who are they? He whispered. The main Kryn swarm reacted to the threat. The hive mind processed the information from the destroyed scout ships. This new vessel was dangerous, very dangerous. 25 ships detached from the assault on the station. They moved in perfect formation toward the Indomitable. This time they would be careful. This time they would use proper tactics. 3 ships moved ahead of the others. They were bait, sacrificial scouts meant to gather data about the enemy. The Kryn hive mind would learn from their destruction and adapt. It was a good strategy. It would work against most opponents. But humans had been developing combat tactics for millions of years. From the first tribe that learned to hunt in coordinated groups to modern space warfare, humans understood strategy at a fundamental level. Jisoo watched the Kryn formation approach. She could see what they were trying to do. They are using scouts to probe our defenses. The main group will analyze our weakness and attack accordingly. Minho nodded. He had seen similar tactics before. Then we do not give them time to learn. Do-hyun, redirect all auxiliary power to forward shields. Seulgi, prepare missile pods. Navigator Taehyun, bring us about. Heading directly into their formation. Taehyun's hands paused over his controls. He turned to look at the captain. Sir, charging directly into their formation would be suicide for any normal ship. Minho's smile was cold and hard. Good thing we are not normal. Execute. The Indomitable accelerated, not away from the enemy. Toward them, the massive engines pushed the ship faster and faster. G-forces mounted. Most alien species would have been crushed into their seats, unable to move or breathe. Some would have died, but the human crew barely noticed. They had evolved on a world with gravity that most species considered uninhabitable. Their bones were dense. Their muscles were strong. Their bodies were built to endure. The ship crashed into the Kryn formation like a hammer. Railguns fired in all directions. Missile pods launched hunter-killer drones that chased individual bioships with machine intelligence. Point defense lasers created deadly grids of light that cut through Kryn armor. The Kryn tried to surround the human ship, tried to concentrate their fire. But the Indomitable moved through their formation like a shark through a school of fish. Every direction was a firing solution. Every angle was covered by weapons. Seulgi worked her controls with calm precision. She had fought pirates before, fought rogue mining bots, fought other human ships in training exercises. This was just another target list. Target destroyed. Acquiring next target, firing. Target destroyed. Next target locked. Her voice was steady, emotionless, professional. The Kryn hive mind began to understand. This was not prey. This was an apex predator. They tried to retreat, to regroup, to adapt their tactics, but it was too late. The Indomitable tore through the Kryn formation, leaving destruction in its wake. Bioships exploded. Debris fields expanded. The perfect coordination of the hive mind broke down as panic spread through the network. And then, 3 more human ships dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. The cavalry had arrived. The alarm screamed through the command center of Kelris 9. Administrator Hyon grabbed the edge of his console as another explosion rocked the station. Red warning lights flashed across every screen. Behind him, his staff looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. Outside the thick windows, he could see them. The Kryn ships moved like a swarm of angry insects, their dark hulls gleaming under the distant star's light. They had appeared without warning just 2 hours ago. Now the small Velrathi defense fleet was gone, destroyed. Nothing but debris floating in the cold darkness of space. Hyon was not a soldier. He was an administrator. He managed mining operations, reviewed production reports, and handled worker complaints. He had never fired a weapon in his life. The Velrathi people were peaceful. They had been peaceful for over 300 years. War was something they read about in history books, but the Kryn did not care about peace. Communication Officer Mirai's voice cut through his thoughts. Her hands shook as she worked her controls. The screens kept flickering. Most of their systems were damaged. Administrator, the main communication array is barely functional. I can send 1 message, maybe 2, before it fails completely. Hyon felt his throat tighten. 1 message. That was all they had. 8,000 people lived on this station. Workers, families, children. They were counting on him to save them. Send a distress call to the Thasian Protectorate, he ordered. Tell them we need military help immediately. Tell them about the Kryn. The Thasians were their allies. They had advanced technology, strong shields, and experienced soldiers. If anyone could help, it would be them. Mirai's fingers flew across her console, composing the message. But then she stopped. Her face went pale. Sir, there is interference. Solar radiation from the nearby star. The message will scatter across multiple directions. I cannot guarantee it will reach the Thasians. Another explosion. Closer this time. The station shuddered. Somewhere below them, metal groaned and atmosphere vented into space. They were running out of time. Send it anyway, Hyon said. Send it now. Mirai pressed the final button. The message burst out into space at the speed of light, scattering in multiple directions like light through a prism. Then the console went dark. The communication array was dead. Hyon closed his eyes for a moment. He had done everything he could. Now they could only wait and hope that someone received their call for help. 3 light-years away, a human ship moved through the darkness. The UESV Indomitable was a heavy cruiser of the Terra Coalition. It was a big ship nearly 800 meters long, covered in thick armor plating. Its hull was scarred from previous battles. Humans did not build beautiful ships. They built ships that could take a beating and keep fighting. Captain Minho sat in his command chair on the bridge. He was reviewing patrol reports when the communication officer called out. "Captain, I am picking up a distress signal. It is badly corrupted, but I can make out parts of it." Minho straightened. Beside him, First Officer Jisoo looked up from her tactical display. The bridge crew turned their attention to the main screen. "Play it," Minho ordered. Static filled the bridge, then fragments of words, a voice speaking in Galactic Standard, the common language used by most alien species. The translation came through their computers. Kelris 9. Under attack. Kryn swarm. 8,000 civilians. Require immediate military assistance, the message cut off. Minho leaned forward, his jaw tight. He knew about the Kryn. Every spacefaring species knew about them. They were raiders, destroyers. They traveled in swarms, stripping entire colonies of resources and leaving nothing behind. They had been a threat in the Outer Rim for decades. Tactical Officer Silgi pulled up her database. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. "Captain, Kelris 9 is a Velrathi mining station. The Velrathi are not members of our coalition. They belong to the Galactic Assembly. We have no formal alliance with them." Jisoo looked at the star chart. She calculated quickly. "We could reach them in 6 hours if we go to maximum speed," she said. Then she paused. "But this is not our fight, sir." The message was probably meant for someone else. The bridge was quiet. Everyone knew she was right. The Terra Coalition and the Galactic Assembly had almost no contact. 40 years ago, when humans first reached the stars, they had tried to join the Assembly. But the aliens had looked at Earth with its high gravity and dangerous conditions, and they had dismissed humanity as primitive. Not worth their time. Humans had been angry about that, but they had moved on, building their own civilization, their own alliances. They did not need the Assembly, but now someone was dying. Someone had called for help. Navigator Taehyun spoke up from his station. "Captain, the Kryn do not take prisoners. If we do not respond, those 8,000 people will die." Chief Engineer Do-hyun's voice came through the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, engines are ready. Weapons are fully charged. The ship is ready for combat operations. Just give the word." Minho looked at each of his officers. He had served with most of them for 5 years. They had fought pirates together, defended colonies together, and saved lives together. He knew what they were thinking because he was thinking the same thing. They were soldiers. They had sworn an oath to protect the innocent. It did not matter if those innocents were human or alien. It did not matter if there was no alliance, no treaty, no political advantage. Someone had asked for help. Minho stood up from his chair. His voice was calm and steady. "They asked for help, we answer. Navigator, set course for Kelris 9, maximum speed. Tactical, bring all weapon systems online. Communications, send a fleet-wide alert to all nearby Terra Coalition vessels. Tell them we may need backup." The bridge crew responded immediately. Orders flew across the communication channels. The massive engines of the Indomitable roared to life, pushing the ship faster and faster. Within minutes, they were traveling at speeds that would have crushed most alien species under the G-forces. But humans were different. Humans came from Earth, a world with gravity that most aliens found unbearable. Humans had evolved to endure. The crew barely noticed the acceleration. Jisoo looked at the tactical display showing the estimated Kryn strength. Her expression was serious. "Sir, intelligence reports suggest Kryn swarms typically number between 30 and 50 ships. We will be going in alone against those odds." Minho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Then the odds are in their favor. They just do not know it yet." The Indomitable raced through space toward Kelris 9. Behind it, 3 more Terra Coalition ships received the alert and changed course to follow. The fleet was coming, and the Kryn were about to learn why humans were called Deathworlders.